This is the one-day chart once more, and we will now discuss XRP. It is 2.82 when we sit here. XRP is still steadily rising, and if you look at the one-month chart, we struck 2.75 back here on August 20. We recently dropped back to 2.78. That was the double bottom we were searching for, and I see people claiming the bottom is now in. Others warn that September will be quite bloody. We need to watch where this market goes from here, you know. Anything may happen, you know. A bullish event could occur and push this market into overdrive. Everyone is extremely pessimistic at the moment, you know, because XRP's price is a good indicator. As we wait for the next significant upward move, we are simply moving up and down. Since no one could declare this market 100%, everyone will be saying, I told you this was the moment we've been waiting for. After that, and observe how Bitcoin has risen above 109K. The consensus last week was, here goes Bitcoin back down under $100,000. All I want is for Bitcoin to begin its last climb. This lets us know that alt season is on the horizon, but I'm always hopeful about where we're headed because there are a lot of catalysts for XRP, and they're all coming up, and they may all push the price of this cryptocurrency to some insane heights. Everyone will regret not purchasing XRP now, in 5 years. In just 2 or 3 months, people will look back and say, I should have bought that dip. So it won't even take 5 years. I ought to have purchased this dip. Why didn't I purchase this dip at the time, you know? But in crypto, you know, that's the way it is. On a red day, some folks simply say, I'm not going to even buy this dip, even if I'm doing nothing. People will look back and regret never investing in XRP after learning about its purpose and nature. Your decision to purchase XRP on your own set you on the path to financial independence. If U.S. banks employ XRP for domestic settlements, the price of XRP might rise to $35. We already know that XRP will be utilized for domestic settlements, as you are aware. Why, in your opinion, does Ripple have money transmitter permits in practically every state? However, it will extend beyond domestic payments. There will be bank-to-bank transactions. The nation will transmit digital dollars using XRP, which will convert them into XRP and ultimately appear as the currency of any other nation. It will transfer many kinds of value. XRP's ability to transport anything of value is what makes it so fantastic. However, as I mentioned, it will involve micropayments in addition to domestic or bank-to-bank payments. Click here to listen to David Schwartz.
The same is true of ILP. We can innovate both below it and above it. But the main point that I want to make is that ILP is a micropayment technology. Over 1 billion ILP payments in 2018. And there's a reason that's important. You can do everything with a micropayment. Micropayments are kind of like packets. If you think about the way the internet works, it sends a packet to its destination with the best effort. ILP does the same thing. The smarts are at the endpoints, and the same thing is true with ILP. So if I want to send somebody $100, I can just sort of start streaming money at them, and when it gets to $100, I can stop. And that is better for a number of reasons. If you're going to make a payment in one shot, you need to get a quote. But do you get a free quote, or do you pay for the quote? If you get a free quote, it's going to be a terrible quote because you've got a free option. If you're going to pay for the quote, how many quotes do you pay for? Do you just pay for one and then take it? Do you pay for 5 quotes and only take one of them? When you stream micropayments, when you make payments by micropayments, you can stream that payment through multiple forwarders, and those individual forwarders can stream that payment through multiple forwarders, and you can take advantage of that best path. And if the path is really good, you can stream money faster. And if the path is really bad, you can stream money more slowly. And the net effect is that you can manage a payment as a series of micropayments. And I know that sounds kind of crazy to you guys today, but if we lived in the circuit switch days of telecom, packet switch, like sending a telephone call over packet switching would sound just as crazy, but it's just as innovative. If we can develop micropayments that are as cheap as a DNS request, micropayments can take over the world. We can put all of the world's payments on a modern payment platform that interoperates between both blockchain and non-blockchain value. Interledger payments plus digital assets could be that internet of value, that way to move value all around the world. Thank you.
Additionally, David discussed the significance of Interledger Protocol back in 2019. Take a look at our current situation in 2025. Real-time payments will be the route to widespread acceptance since everyone wants quick gratification, even when it comes to micropayments. It will enable you to pay for specific items. Additionally, it will allow you to receive cash at any time of day or night. With micropayments, you may receive payment as soon as a minute. Since Ripple was among the first to develop micropayment technology, I believe that it will even surpass both domestic and international payments in size. They are stating that if Ripple were to burn the escrow, XRP would rise to a price of between $6 to $9. Thoughtful. This is the maximum price that XRP might reach if the escrow burn causes a price increase. That escrow will never be burned by Ripple. Remember what happened when Stellar did this with XLM years ago? XLM's price increased by 20% before plummeting again, and XRP would experience the same outcome. People believe that we will reach $100,000 per XRP if Ripple burns the escrow. That is not how it works, and it would not be that way. This increases the likelihood that it will occur. As the White House acknowledges plans to increase its involvement in private companies, a pundit highlights XRP and Ripple escrow. The possibility that the US government would take over Ripple's escrow is what they are pointing to here. Annoyed, this has a higher possibility of occurring than the escrow being burned, although that won't happen either. Ripple makes smart use of that escrow. They use it to acquire companies and constantly add new features to XRP. Personally, I believe that some of that escrow will eventually end up in the hands of the US government, which will then be able to use it to move RLUSD or any other digital currency they decide to use in the future. However, I also believe that the IMF, ECB, and other central banks will receive some of that escrow, and that this will happen gradually. You must keep in mind that our Ripple will simply become the central bank of all central banks. They will hold the liquidity pool, and all banks will be able to transact through the XRP ledger. In any case, Ripple has been increasingly resembling a bank and is pursuing a banking license. They are a one-stop shop, but consider the XRP ledger and the Ripple escrow as the primary liquidity pool that all of these institutions use for transactions. In this manner, the XRP would remain locked up and out of circulation for a very long time, which is a possibility we might see, even though those banks are not required to store it. People are now saying, forget about those 50x or 100x profits because today's cycle is looking more like a 2x to a 6x, after one analyst warned that the era of huge cryptocurrency gains may be coming to an end. You're lucky if you get a 2x with Bitcoin, but I still think a cryptocurrency like XRP will eventually pull 100x or more. The majority of these utility-driven cryptocurrencies are no different. The issue is that this cryptocurrency is maturing, and people are beginning to recognize that the 50x move on Ethereum and Bitcoin will only happen occasionally. In order for XRP to reach those high price thresholds, it now comes down to something that needs to have a use case or value. It won't be determined by past cycles or market capitalization because XRP's market capitalization has a multiplier, a very high multiplier. Even the smallest sum of money can affect the price of XRP because it is typically between 400 and 500x. That isn't the case with Ethereum or Bitcoin. Ethereum, in my opinion, has a 20x multiplier at the moment. Consider that. Additionally, a significant number of ETFs for XRP are set to launch at this time. Although this information is correct, I believe that the influx of billions and billions of dollars will cause a sharp change in the price of XRP. The days of witnessing those enormous Bitcoin movements are drawing to a close. Anyone who invests in Bitcoin now may hope for a twofold increase. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's difficult to see XRP reach those crazy price points that people always talk about. However, when you take into account everything, cross-border payments, tokenized assets coming on-chain, and many other things that are held in custody, XRP becomes the world's bridge currency. Suddenly, we're going to see a rapid change in the price of XRP, and it won't be based on market capitalization because market capitalization is irrelevant in cryptocurrency and you're not invested in the stock market. However, if you mention XRP, it will say, well, in previous cycles, this is where XRP went, and based on market cap, it could never hit this price point or that price point. This is the first thing people say, and it's just untrue. Be aware of what you own and keep holding on to it, because the longer you own XRP, the wealthier you will get. Until that day comes, remain patient and optimistic, and let's all become wealthy together. That being said, I will now conclude this video. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks to everybody. In the next one, I'll see you.